Hello, can you hear me okay? Is- Say something so I know you're there. Hello, hello. Hi, Jonathan. Oh, good. Okie doke. Um, Let me tell you what got me going today about the artificial intelligence. Um, at our Watch chat group, one of the ones I'm in anyway. Um, I get this thing from Meta or whoever they call themselves now, Facebook, really saying, "Oh, you really ought to set up an artificial intelligence for your chat." I'm thinking, what? I mean, like the whole purpose of having these sort of Facebook and having sites where you can talk about different things is is the opposite of artificial intelligence. I have a feeling they're sort of like they're looking for something that will generate views and increase their advertising revenue, which is I can understand, but I mean like anyway, I thought this might be a good topic for us. Is that our watches going to be designed and our movements going to be designed using artificial intelligence? Okay, so that's sort of what I'm up for today. I, so much of this stuff I start typing now, and the auto completion is so advanced that it completes sentences for me, and all I got to do is hit the I don't know what you hit, the tab or the space bar or something, and everything is jumps ahead. Okay, so let's hear from you guys. If you're anybody beside Jonathan here, say something. We're waiting. I'm supposed to have something. I think this weekend be able to have an unboxing, another live unboxing. We'll see what happens. Where is everybody? How say something? Oh, wait a minute. Maybe you are, and I can't see it. Is this working? No, it's not. Let's see. Ah, there we go. No? Ah, there we are. Hi, Thomas. I can see all these people that are here. Nobody's saying anything. Okay. Hi, Koji. But I'm having some buffering issues. Oh, no. Ha. They may be on your end today. I'm not sure. I just came back from a meeting and all of these roads were washed out. Here in New England, we saw on the TV news they had these incredible rains, and where we are, it just rained and rained and rained. But we're up on like a ridge, and all the water goes down below. And we have a pond behind our house, and so we watch the pond grow, but we don't have any problem with uh, standing water because we're like we're up here and everything just flows down to the bottom. We have some wetlands below. Okay. How's everybody else's? Does everybody else have buffering too? Maybe so. I don't know. There you go. Hi, Callus, Callus, Mon. Callismo. How you doing? Happy Christmas to you too. Thought the unboxing worked well. It did. Oh, that was great. Yeah, that was I was so happy to get that back. And that was sort of fun. Yeah, no, I've got you know, every week I figure, well, we'll have one of these sort of irresponsible discussions that we can talk about anything. And sort of the whole idea of well, we'll see what you think about that. What do you think about that? I mean, artificial intelligence could design a watch. If we said, okay, this is what we want, and we started talking about the watch, I have no idea what we would get. But some of the things, and I know that our artificial intelligence is getting better, but I don't know, for a lot of reasons, whether it will ever reach a point where it's really intelligence or something else. I mean, sort of like I'm not sure what. I mean, the whole thing with algorithms and what they're using, because we did a lot of work. Both I've done a lot of work with computers and computing and programming, and I know what you can program. I mean, you can program something that looks very, very smart. But I've also worked with the ethnomethodologists, and we can make sense out of anything, basically. So anyhow, hey, Goldfinker, how you guys doing? So anyhow, I was thinking about that. Well, what would a watch look like that that Bender made for us? I think the design process will stay human oriented using CAD, but the robot built watches may take advantage of AI. Oh, that could happen. This is funny. It's no secret of what my view is of silicon hairsprings. But on the other hand, using CAD and a lot of the other things to make essentially what are very traditional um, watches. In other words, a watch that the Geneva Seal Foundation would look at and say, that's okay. Whereas right now, because Patek Philippe is using silicon hairsprings, they can't have the Geneva Seal anymore. That must have been a fight. Hi, Bimatic. How you doing? Oh, good. I'm glad you like it. Oh my goodness. You'll go mad watching those many videos, Bimatic. Oh, yeah, no kidding. Well, mainstream is really boring if you don't do anything interesting and fun. Or to me, interesting is fun. But there was this wonderful thing that had, you follow the herd, and it said from the back of the herd, the view never changes, and it doesn't. Hey, HRM. I think AI could be used for good purposes in the watch industry, making 3D printed cases with hollowed out internal structures, for example, as light as possible, but still structurally tough. Yeah, those are the things that I think about too, HRM, and say, boy, wouldn't that be cool? Is that have a really good designer put together what you want and then give it to an AI machine and says, I'll go at them. Hey, I tell you something sort of interesting that I ran into some time ago. And there's a company that is, let me see if I can find it. It's owned by Festina. Let me see. Let me try to find it here. It's called Manufacture Horlogerie Vallée des Jours SA. Okay. Now they have what they what they did. Ophion. Uh, it was created with have a movement that was based on the techno time movement. Now, techno time made movements, and they went out of business. All right. They were bought by Festina, which means what was bought wasn't all of the brain power or anything. What was bought were the designs. And so here they had these designs, and so they gave it to Manufacture Horlogerie Vallée des Jours, and the abbreviation is MHVJ. Okay, and they have this thing that they're using these nanotechnology. And what I don't know how they do it, but they say, okay, here's the specs on this movement. Make it for us. The old machine goes to town on it with, that would be a form of artificial intelligence, I think. Putting old Binder to work on a on a watch. But I sort of thought, well, here you have something that's already designed and everything, and here you have a computer that can do all of the milling and whatever else. I mean, or guide sort of the milling work on it. Is that so bad? Let's take, for example, let's say that Breguet, pray that they would do something like this, is that they would go and they would get Abraham Louis Breguet's some of his original designs, and they would feed it into an AI machine with a CAD and everything else all hooked up to something that would make it. It was sort of like a 3D printer on steroids. Okay, whip it up. That, I think, would be sort of fun. What's your opinion of the GP Richville 2510? I purchased a watch today on C24. The shops stated it's in mint condition. I can't wait to get one. I love that watch. I love that watch. Be Matic, that is. Tell us about it when you get it, okay? Come to one of our live, say, look what I got. Tell us. No, that's a neat watch. Yeah, they're hard to find too, if I'm not mistaken. Hey, Joseph, how you doing? Michael, good to see you. Oh, you caught the live stream. Oh, hey, San Diego, my old stomping grounds. I used to live in Rancho Bernardo, and the house I lived in burned down in the Rancho Bernardo fire. It was really funny. My sons were looking at it, and they said, "Dad, there's just our house is gone. There was nothing left but a cement foundation. That was it." But I love San Diego. You know what I miss the most about San Diego? Most people think if you live in San Diego and you move someplace like Connecticut or Texas or some other place, is you miss the weather. But me, I had the best friends in San Diego. Really worked with a great bunch of people. Had a lot of friends from. We used to have these great computer meetings. This is nerd's paradise, I guess, for someone like me. My kids both surf. I used to surf. I really miss that. But I really love Connecticut. That's funny. I don't think I've lived any place I really couldn't stand for long. Oh, we're in Carmel Valley. Oh yeah, Carmel Valley. I'll be darned. Yes, I know Carmel Valley. I used to fly out of. I had my airplane in Palomar Airport, which is in Carlsbad. And I think going down that way somehow I would go off. I mean, it's been like 30 years since I've been there, or since I lived there and had my airplane. I miss that a lot. We used to fly down. I tell you, San Diego, for anybody who's a pilot, the San Diego area was one of the more complex airspaces. You had a double TCA. I don't even know if they still have TCAs anymore, but you had Lindbergh Field, which was busy, and then you had the Marine Air Station there, and then just to the north you had the Marine base, and whenever we fly over the Marine base, all of our all of our avionics would go. They just somehow got knocked out, and then they would come back to life as soon as we got into there was a corridor, through LA you could take in, VFR conditions and just fly up there and look at the people down below in the god awful traffic. That was fun. Oh, yeah, I loved San Diego. Well, I was there for 15 years. My hometown is Santa Barbara, so I'm a Californian, about a got a 3rd generation Californian. My kids are, 4th generation, but I like New England. I just, anyway. Hey, Par, how you doing, man? Bmatic, okay. Oh, I'm glad that it's, let us know if you get it while we're here right now. You got it 24 months guarantee. I try to catch every live video. I'm from Europe. Okay, yeah, we have usually, we this live one is unplanned. Okay, this is our irresponsible live ones. On Saturdays, we have a live one at 8 o'clock in the morning. This is New York time. And then we have another one at 4 o'clock New York time on Saturday. So those are fairly scheduled. These are unscheduled, something just like, oh, we might as well have some fun talking about watches. And up it comes. Yeah. Well, if you look at Palomar, as soon as you head north, from the Palomar Airport, you're right over the base or along the ocean. That's whatever it is. Your avionics go. Where am I? Anyway, um, okay. So, let's see. Is there a big difference? Do we lose? What would we lose if we let artificial intelligence take over a lot of things? Um, I don't know how many of you or any of you in this who are here right now are involved in our Brigade Nouveau project. This is where we got a bunch of parts from AliExpress, and we decided we're going to make the $22,000 Brigade Classic. Except it only cost us $82 because we got a case, we got a clone of an ETA 6498. The case is 41 millimeters, and the real one, the Brigade Classic, is 40 millimeters. So we're pretty close on that. We got a dial. We got an enamel dial, just like the one on the expensive one, and we've been working on it. Let me see if I can show it to you. I've got mine is geez. I have to be very careful with it because I've got some parts that are loose in there. There, I better put it back. I probably knocked everything out of whack now. Anyway, uh, we've started on that. I don't know, like I said, I don't know if any of you guys are involved in that, but it's been a lot of fun. What do I think uh, could be the future implication of AI in watchmaking? I'll tell you, one of the most disappointing things I saw was when Patek Philippe went with silicon. And so I look at artificial intelligence. Could artificial intelligence make hairsprings, good ones, from transitional metals like Strawman or like Rolex's, what are they called? Parachrome or something like that. Parachrome, I think, is what they call them. Could they do that? That would be fine. What I worry about, I guess, is the whole business, I think, that would take sort of the creative skills out of it. I mean, you have guys like and gals like Jean-Marc Viderec, Kari Voutilanen, Philippe Dufour, Francois Mejon, Carol Forstier-Casapi, Guido Papi, all of these guys. What's his name? Vincent Calabrese. Uh, it's Antonio Pizzuzio. Here you have all of these really brilliant people. Now, how does that go together? Do they become designers alone and leave up the fine work to AI? Because it's not that hard to do. There was something that AI was doing, like a Picasso or something. And my God, I tell you, I looked at it, it was just incredible. Really, I mean, really incredible. Or was it was either a Picasso or Van Gogh. Just amazing looking at what could be done with that. So I don't know. I mean, it's like one of the great ironies might be this, that AI would put the guys who made AI out of business. In other words, oh, hey, we can program better than you guys. You've taught us. I don't know. The possibilities, I think, both on the positive and negative side, are simply a reality. It's not a matter of like, oh, we're not going to do this or we're not going to do that. Man, I tell you, in the watch business, somebody finds a way to make a buck, and they're not adverse to that kind of innovation. I mean, right now you have all of the best watchmakers, all of them that I can think of, using CAD. And that's a type of artificial intelligence. It's a computer aided design. And, it's sort of really, but I think that is sort of like having another tool, a design tool, rather than using a pen and or brush and so forth, or even the other different kinds of things. I don't know. That's a rough question, Thomas. It really is. HRM still hoping Calabrese invents a cam operated hairspring replacement someday. Well, he's got doesn't he have that, the thing he called Calisys? Yeah, we were talking about doing that. He'd been looking for. They do so many things in a traditional way. That's what I like about working with the guys in LaRique. We get together like, oh, let's try this, and off we go, and we do things. And this is our wonderful etude number 1. We're finishing up 2 right now, and started etude number 3. And so we sort of, like, rather than whining about what the Swiss or the Japanese or the Chinese and our Americans aren't doing anything except for a couple people, let's go and get something going ourselves. May take over the jobs of humans. Robots have been taking over jobs of the humans for years now, Thomas. I think people have this image of robots, looking like R2D2 or 3CPO. What robots look like is the ATM machine. You know how many bank tellers are unemployed by ATM machines? They save the banks billions of dollars, and that's why they're really big on them. There are all kinds of things that they would rather do automatically, and I'm no different. I helped unemploy all of the typesetting because when I was in publishing, I was a member of the Publishers Marketing Association, which was a group of small and medium-sized book publishers. And I got one of the early laser printers that Apple had, and got the software for doing page design. and so I no longer needed a somebody to do page makeup for me. It was done. The computer did it, and the laser printer printed it out. And so a lot of people whose jobs were doing page makeup, which was one of the major steps in book publishing, poof, they got they adapted that like mad. Uh, so you see a lot of stuff. The first 8 books that I wrote, I did on a typewriter, all right? I mean, like, you start the manuscript and type away, and then you send it off to the publisher, and you come back, and there are red lines all over it, and you look at it, and after being depressed for a half a week, you get back to work, start all over again, tippity-tip. I'll tell you, I don't even know how I did it. When I did my first book using a computer, I mean, using a word processor, it was a very primitive one, but it worked. And from then on, man, there was no going back. I mean, you'd get a manuscript back. Now the manuscripts would come, with they'd email it to me. And so I'd look at it, and the same thing. It'd be full of red lines. I'd have to type, but all I'd have to do, I wouldn't have to start over again, with a blank page and start typing away. And so things, you know, I I I I don't know how that was bad. I mean, if you're a writer, God, it was a godsend. Some people couldn't, there's a lot of people today would say, like a, you know, typewriter. That's crazy. Who would do anything like that? I don't know. Um, oh, hi, Michael. Yeah, I hope so. The same problem applies to self-service checkouts at service markets. They take people's jobs. Sure, they do. You're absolutely right. Um, the even the a cashier doesn't have to do math anymore. I mean, it was like back in the day. Uh, you know, uh, Somebody had to understand enough math that if you gave them a $10 bill and the price was 8.52, they'd know that they could figure out the right correct amount of change without the cash register telling them. And then, of course, in that it was a lot more efficient and easier on the cashiers. But now, they had an advertisement some years ago, a long time ago, and they had this guy getting stuff and putting it in his pockets and everything, and then he's going through walking out of a store, and all of a sudden the buzzer goes off because the guy hadn't stopped to pay for anything, and the buzzer simply told the guy, said, "Oh, you forgot your receipt," and is that is a sure response. Something. I go to the grocery store and I don't like using the self checkouts, especially if I have, I buy a lot of veggies and fruits and things, and that's complicated. So I I go to but if I got a few things and just you can put them on. I used to make this stuff. That's what's so weird. To program it's not hard to program. I don't even remember those little symbols. I forget even what they call. I think I intentionally forgot all of the things I used to do with that. Um, what are those little barcode things that they have? But the little squares, and you pop that things in. I used to write programs for those things. It was like, here, make your life easier. 50 people lost their jobs. I wonder. I don't know. I don't know how that's. I think one of the hardest things that they're going to have in the watch business, people talk about the silicone hairspring as, oh, they're making advancements. The first quartz watch that came along keeps better time than anything with a silicone hairspring. It still does. And what the Swiss wanted to do was to sort of to sort of revive their business, to save their business, is to have something that was special, that was, handmade and so forth. Um, this, our watches are handmade, and people go, "How come is?" Oh yeah, that was it. That had to do with limited editions. They said, "Is that a limited editions?" Well, it's limited, but not on purpose. It's limited because that's all we could handle. That's all that Agenor and all of the other people we're working with could handle at a certain amount of time. And so it's limited in that way. I don't have a problem with that. I mean, I see these things that, oh, there's only, 5,000. There's a limited edition, you limited, but, so what? I mean, whether something's a limited edition or they got something really a smart AI who did something exactly like this and made a million of them, uh, is there a difference that we would really, if they could make one just like that, they can't yet, but I don't think it's something somebody wanted to concentrate on it and do it, they could. But instead, what they're doing is they're doing smartwatches. They're doing Apple watches and Samsung and some of these other ones. And of course, they're suing each other. Oh boy. One day, someone will invent an all-in-one watchmaking machine that can service and diagnose your watch. Yep. The time grapher is pretty close to that in certain respects. The reason I say that, my 85-year-old Portuguese watchmaker that I used, he did all of his work and he never had a time grapher. But man, I get my watches back and they were perfect. You know, we're not going to see anybody like that again. I wonder what's it called? WOSOC, the Swiss watchmaker school. They're bringing in more and more of the modern machines. The other day I was at a dentist and they were putting this thing in my mouth that looked uh, like a, I don't know, a bar of something going like that. And everything was showing up on a TV set. And they were watching the TV set. And I thought, oh, that's sort of cool. So yeah, I think the two things they're going to need, first of all, someone who's willing to buy it. That's number one. I mean, they can have all the technology they want, and if people don't want it, then what's the point? Um, and then then that'll be another thing. So they probably already have artificial intelligence figuring out, you know, strategies for sales of these things. I don't know. I don't know. Oh no. I don't know. Here's another possibility. Let's say you get tired of your old watch. Say, I'm tired of looking at this one. So you send it in, they give it to a smart machine. It totally takes it and makes it a totally different watch from it. Uses the same material, but changes the hands, the case, and even the movement. They said, okay, now it's a different kind of watch, but we use the same stuff because it's sort of like future recycling becomes so important because there isn't anything left in the ground. I don't know. I think the difference is AI can recreate, but it can't imagine. Yeah, Jonathan, I think I yeah, I the problem, there will be artificial imagination. I think Disney even has something he calls them the imagine where imagination works. I don't know. I don't know if artificial intelligence will create artificial imagination and see what they come up with. So, well, I mean, when you look at this stuff, if you go on eBay or a lot of these other places, or you even go on Amazon, and you look at the stuff they have out there, my God, I tell you, it's just like so many things that they haven't figured out yet. Every Wednesday is a thing now. Oh, I can't guarantee every Wednesday, Truman. I sort of like it's sort of in the middle of stuff. I think last week I did it on a Tuesday or Thursday. It just sort of like, whoop, coming up. Hey, Eddie, how you doing, man? AI won't hurt Caribou and Lannons of the world. Will probably affect the standard horology companies, though. Yeah, it could also there's something you make, Travis, some point too that you may come up with. It may spawn more of these micro brands, um, because they can get their mitts on the on the right machines, or lease them. And say, hey, you want to start a watch company? You can lease these things and you know tell it what you want and it'll figure something out for you and then you can be a watch company. I don't know. There are all kinds of possibilities. Hi, unseen hero. How you doing? I think AI can help people problem solve their ideas. Let's say there is a concept no one has designed yet they think they can get AI to assist. That would be interesting. Say, here, figure this one out, AI. It's really funny that you say that, hero. We're working on a problem now. In fact, I would just gave the problem to our designer. I think it was yesterday, and there are these two styles that are. I said, let's see if we can bring these two styles together into something new, sort of a synthesis that has both features of sort of a heritage style with the more flowing forms of Art Nouveau. Let's see what we come up with, And I think we're going to end up with something very exciting. Maybe that's but to me, I don't know whether artificial intelligence already got that one licked already, figured out. Who knows? Thomas, I think whether AI can make a total watch production line, there will always remain a demand for artisanally made watches. AI made watches may raise the price of human made watches to the luxury. That could be true. I think probably has already. From my understanding, a number of years ago, and one of the many times that Tag Heuer said we're going to have our own movement and never did. But what they did get, they got this production line, and anybody who's a Tag Heuer fan, correct me if I'm wrong, but from what I saw, they had sort of like, I think they put the parts in, they or had the machine make the parts, and then everything just sort of clunked down, and they were showing this thing, and it looked like it did the assembly of the movement and then the assembly of the watch. I can take a watch movement apart and put it together because I've done it exactly one time with an instructor that Horological Society of New York had. And it's sort of like, it's very mechanical, and I don't think AI would have a problem with that at all. You simply sequence, what you want to go into the base and stand back. Hey, Stephen, how you doing? AI isn't self-aware and never will be. I don't know. I the word never, I sort of what I have no idea. uh, the whole concept of self-awareness is something else too. I could give you a long, long, long talk about, you know, what we have, what people put together as a personality or as a human. You know, they pick up from all of the different roles that are already pre-made for them. And it's sort of a, I don't know. Truman, I hope you're right. I hope they never are able to do that. But I don't trust them. They can't make original art like Chronomet's Rain or the Mona Lisa. I don't know. Don't 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 tempt them. I was sort of like, you know, what if artificial intelligence? Well, that's an insult. I'll show you. That would also be self-awareness. I don't. Didn't you see? What was it? 2001: A Space Odyssey. And old Hal went loose, and said, "Us, we'll see you." Hey, Eddie. Not AI related, but have you seen the Brigade 3337? It has a beautifully engraved movement that you might like. You know, Eddie, I tell you, there's so many things about Brigade I like. One thing I don't like, they put a silicone hairspring in them. To me, that ruined them. There were so many brigades, especially the brigade tradition that I like. But I mean, how can you have tradition with I mean, I can see tradition being made using CAD, but I can't see it being made using metalloids. That's me though, not everyone. I realize that. Oh, pre-silicon. Oh man, oh that's interesting. You know, I tell you, there's another brigade that I really want and really like, and I don't know the number on it, but it was one that I think it's 30. Correct me if I'm wrong, Eddie. 3330 or 3130 that Daniel Roth designed for them and made. So that's another thing. I think that these are things that are fun to look at and say, well, let's see what would happen. If here's sort of the temptation. On the one hand, the reason that so many watches, like the reason that watches like this are so incredibly expensive, is you've got to have skilled hands at it. And then, of course, we took away the marketing and everything else. We end up with our watch, which was about 1/6 to 1/10 of what the MSRP would be. Now, if you take away what we the other expenses, you could have some very, very inexpensive, fantastic watches. And I think that would be, like you take, for example, the Strawman hairspring, or you take the Parachrome hairspring. Say, okay, you want something that you're using transitional metals, no metalloids and silicon and all of that junk. We can make it for you. And the old machine goes to town and does the hairsprings and does everything else. And, bingo, you get this that didn't involve Butenland and Caton. It didn't involve Agenor. It didn't involve Metallim. It didn't involve all of the people that we worked with. Uh, and you could have it for like a tenth of what we paid for it. So you have things that, oh boy, well, that would be nice to have to get a watch like that. I don't know. I mean, but would it be the same? Initially, probably not. They'd probably flub it up. But as artificial intelligence gets better and better, look out. There's some people, what's his name? There was this computer programmer who, he invented all of these early things having to do with computers and the internet. He's at Berkeley. and I think he may have joined, yeah, he did, I think, join the group that was, oh boy, I don't even know if these guys, it was a computer company that started at Stanford, and they got 4 people together, and they made this one that was used on Wall Street for years, and I can't think of the name of it. Same with the computer, but it was like this guy was really, really worried about artificial intelligence, and explained it with some animal. I forgot the guy's name though. He was one of these really brilliant people. We might be talking about the same watch. We might be. We very well could be. The N1 is definitely the blueprint for individual independent watchmaking. It is. But we're not telling anybody that. Hey, Abdul, always a pleasure to see you. Anyway, well, I don't know. I tell you, I think this what will determine what artificial intelligence will and will not do. It will come down, I think, to two things: acceptability, and by acceptability, I mean something that people would pay money for, and profitability. We all know what that is. And so if something like you could create a really wonderful watch uh, for a fraction of the price that really didn't involve all of the people that are involved in typical watchmaking today. And believe me, there are a lot to make a watch. Then what about that? What if you could get like what amounted to a DeForce Simplicity for $500? Would you get it? Or a Duford Duality, or something that was exactly like Abraham Louis Breguet's Name a Watch. There's a big part of the watch that anybody buys, or most people buy, is advertising. And advertising is figuring out a way to get someone to like something that is based on archaic technology, namely these mechanical watches that we like. I think A1 will definitely changing the way uh, uh, AI will in the next 5 years. Yeah, I think, yeah, I agree, Abdul. It's like if something comes along and somebody is, let's say you take two watch companies, and one of them is making a fortune, and they got 5 people working for them, and you got another one, and you got 500 people working for them, and yet they come out with the same watch. You know that they're not going to keep the way that they have to pay 500 people when they can pay 5 people and a machine to do the same thing. And that's what I think. I think that is sort of an existential problem when you're dealing with something that depends on archaic technology. On the other hand, the fact that it is archaic technology, namely the watches we like, sort of lends itself to like, oh well, we're not going to pay attention to that because probably I was saw a thing. I don't know how many billions, hundreds of billions of Apple watches have sold. Just amazing. And here we are. We're able to knock out 70. So you know, we're anyway. That's I don't know. I don't know. That would be worth kicking around. Uh, yeah, Abdul, you're right. I have no doubt that you can figure that out. And then you got somebody, from marketing spreading stuff, and I think they probably in the politics today they got stuff that I think is artificial intelligence is grinding out, or the genuine stupidity goes into artificial intelligence and it looks better, cleans it up. I don't think that that's true. That true independent watchmakers will take advantage of AI. It is a skill and love of the art. Oh, I agree. I mean, yeah, Thomas, that's true. But look at the prices. I mean, there's. I was just looking at Patek Philippe's entry level Calatrava hand wound, $30,000, and that's just like I know as extravagant as we are, that's for a lot of us, that's a lot of money. But do you think this might be the new quartz crisis? Yeah, it could be. Good analogy, Abdul. This could be the new quartz crisis. What are they going to do? Um, like I said before, some technologies have been involved in it, and there's a lot of stuff like the people who are working on our watch. They have lots of talent, but one of those talents is knowing how to use computer aided design. That's a huge thing. And also how to use these very sophisticated machines that will do a lot of the work that they used to have to do by hand. And so I think in that company that I mentioned that is owned by Festina, they're using nanotechnology on that, and some of the capacity of that. I mean, computers programming, quantum computing, most people can understand digital computing because it uses two states, on and off, 0 and 1. The wire is hot, the wire is cold. That's all digital computing comes down to. In quantum computing, they have three states, on, off, and both. And I don't even begin to try to claim to understand it, but my God, I do know what it would do to the speed. The speed would be so just. I mean, it would be like a quantum leap in it, and then tie that into being smart and reproducing it. So, I mean, they're just like, all we can do is sort of at some point we can watch the show. Truman, the algorithm needs an original template to recreate something similar. You need an etude one for the computer to create etude number two. Yeah. It was, yeah, I think I'm with you, Truman, in terms of what I would like to see, but I keep seeing the technology and this capacity being nudged forward. All right. That's why I like to, buy all of this stuff from AliExpress and put it together myself. Then I know, then I actually know the thing I have is a mechanical watch that was, a great deal of pretension and little skill involved, but somewhat hands were in there breaking parts and doing different things with it. And that may be, the DIY will be the big thing with that. When I first did my first interface for a robotic, I did it from a DIY book, used a 2x4 and 8 flashlight bulbs to read an 8-bit processor. It was like, "Oh, hey, this is fun." And now, my god, it's like, you got all these things you can plug it in. I think the same thing is happening with, chronometers. Uh, I had to send in when I had the, chronometer testing for this, they tested it for 15 days and all of these different conditions and settings and so forth, and it passed the chronometer test that was about 1 notch above what the COSC requirements were. In other words, they exceeded COSC requirements, 15 days. They've got stuff now, I think they can take one look at it and sniff it, and it'll say, "Okay, this is chronometer, this isn't," or if it's not, then, okay, we'll give it a few shakes in the right way and make it that way. I don't know. We're sort of in a we can keep the hobby simply by doing certain things. This is why I got so upset about silicone hairsprings. They take away one thing, the ability uh, to regulate it by using the hairspring. Now, with a free sprung balance, you never had to use that. You'd always use the weights. And, it's funny because I see the ones with, silicone hairspring saying, "Well, ours is free sprung." Well, they don't have a choice. They can't make a curve regulator because you can't do anything with a silicone hairspring other than break it if you try to change the shape of it. And, of course, that's what the big advantage is. It doesn't change the shape in different heat and cold and different situations, and so you don't have the variability that you get in one made from transitional metals. In other words, that's why I sort of like it. Well, I can break this one, so it's a good thing. Yeah, also, Abdul, I think it's fun talking to the people who do the design, who are doing the making, and finding out the issues that they have. They've got all kinds of things that they have to deal with, and it's sort of learning about the entire process. And to me, that's been the most fascinating part. The rest of it can be pretty hard sometimes. I think also that it takes away from the idea of watches as timeless, as all the parts are fixable. But with silicon, hairspray, I love there's artificial intelligence at work. It turned hairspring into hairspray. It's only interchangeable, you're right. Yeah, that's another thing too. Interchangeable parts is a big deal. Um, anyway, well, look, guys, I better go. I think, before my better half loses patience yet again with me. So, I appreciate everybody who came. I enjoyed talking with you, and everyone have a Merry Christmas or a Happy Hanukkah or any other celebration you have this time of year. Take care.